Here we go. Good morning. I think it's Saturday. Of course, I got my Jesus music on. Kari, Jobe. I think that's her husband. It's called Heal Our Land. Guess what I'm going to talk about today? Trains, baby. Look at this. See that? That would look better if it were in black and white. I got a quote for you. Boom. Here we go. I think we've all heard that. I know I have. I mean, I'm older than coal, but it says the diamond is just a piece of charcoal, or I would just say coal, that handled stress exceptionally well. You've heard that before. That's nothing new to you. You've seen this. You're like, okay, Fibonacci, I get it. Diamonds and coal. Like, what's the point? I gotta get back on Instagram and Facebook and tell people that I'm gonna eat dinner. Okay, here you go. Kind of the same thing. Now check this out. Now, anybody who follows this channel knows that I like Durango. I like numbers. I didn't know that the railroad Durango Silverton had 3 trains. There's a 478, there's a 476 and 480, and I gotta know what happened to 480 or 477. I mean, look, boom, right here, check it out. I'm not making it up. 478, 476, and 480. What happened to 477? I don't know. I want to show you something that I found yesterday on my walk. Take a little look at that. Who was it, Emerson, that said that for everything that we gain, we lose something? For everything we lose, we gain something? Like, what if the airline industry never really took off and we still lived in trains, or we took trains and waved at train people? 480, boom. Look at that. Just something beautiful about trains. So what's your point? You're like, okay, Fibonacci, I get it. You like diamonds, that coal. No, I found a lump of coal. Check it out. Real life coal. I'm just walking. Boom, there it is. Never actually held coal. And when I saw it, I thought of that old cliche. I said, literally there's a diamond in the rough right there. Boom. And let me show you how that's relevant, because there's really several types of Christians, type of Jesusans. There's some people that like the diamonds, and for these types of Christians, these people, faith for them is encapsulated in diamonds. It's getting a diamond, getting a house, getting a spouse, 2.3 kids, a couple of vacays at Disneyland. And that's pretty much universal, whether Texas, California, New York. There is a denomination of Christianity which really begins and ends at the altar of just starting families. And there's not really any, I guess the old-fashioned hymn word, there's no Jesus work of the heart. There's no transformation of the heart. I wanted to show you, like, for example, there are coal scriptures. There's scriptures that are kind of dirty, that are kind of rough, that are kind of like a train, 480, that these scriptures sort of don't fit with the Easter bunny and the eggs. And they both need to be allowed. Like, for example, Psalms 58 has a passage in here. It says, "Break their teeth, O God, in their mouths." It says, "Break out the fangs of the young lions." I mean, this is literally David going through some bullshit. Psalms 58 in his prayer to God is that God will break their teeth. And then in 57, of course, one of my favorite passages, he starts to be merciful and gracious, and he talks about destructive storms. And then, of course, we all know that. It says that just the promise that God is for us. So what's my point? Where am I going? Is there has to be a place in any sort of mature Christian beyond teenagery faith, and then that faith, in my opinion, is what I'm going to call coal faith. And this is the furnace faith. And it looks like this. For example, let me show you a really good example of coal faith, to the point that it almost will disturb me. It's in 2 Corinthians, and I found this when I was living in the terrible city of Colorado Springs. There's no worse city in Colorado. I mean, I love everything about Colorado. Of course, I love Durango. It's the best part of Colorado. Then there's really bad Colorado. There's only one town, and it's Colorado Springs. And what makes Colorado Springs so bad is, number one, is it's full of Republicans. It's full of military bases. And they've taken this beautiful, it's almost like Texas has took a giant shit in Colorado and called it Colorado Springs. And if you notice, there is I guess you want to call it a type of Christian that when they go to Colorado, they want to hang out in Colorado Springs. And it's a very Republican, military, kind of white, like I said, it's like Texas took a shit in Colorado. It's called Colorado Springs. And I found this scripture, 2 Corinthians, and it really meant a lot to me. Because, at that point I was homeless. This is Paul talking about 2 Corinthians. And this is some of the stuff that he went through. And I never really digest this until I was living in this shit town of Colorado Springs. He talks about 5 times that he received. And this is just, kind of some of the shit that he went on. He talked about times that he went on journeys and perils. And again, this is coal faith. Coal faith. This is where Paul literally went through the furnace. It went through things that most of us will never experience. Like most of us have never actually been beaten 3 times with a rod. Once he was stoned. He was shipwrecked. Once he was on journeys. I love how he says one of the perils that he faced was perils from those posing as believers. Coal faith. What the fuck is coal faith? Well, coal faith is 2 Corinthians. And most people who like the Easter Bunny and the good news, and who doesn't like the good news? I mean, the gospel literally means good news. And so I don't want to put so much pressure on the coal that I make faith this arduous, terrible thing, because there are scriptures that are just as true like this. And God who provides seed for the sower and bread for eating will also provide and multiply you. These are the things that we like to hear, and these are the things that we don't. For example, who doesn't like to hear this? And God is able to make all grace come to you under all circumstances. I mean, these are some profound promises, but yet one of the champions of faith kind of went through hell, frequently driven to fasting by wine. And he did it because he had this need, this addiction to help people believe in the message. And this is Paul. And this is just what he went through. So what's my point? Where am I going with this? Is you too, no matter where you're at, you're going to go through seasons of your life. You're going to go through seasons that are much like the regular seasons. There's going to be some seasons that are going to just beat the shit out of you. You're going to be around those posing as believers. And there's also going to be seasons where, much like spring, where the seasons are beautiful, and you just sort of take care of the rig. And then there's seasons that have all kinds of beauty to them like that. Then you have seasons like this, the bridge season. There's a really good book out there. It's called Listen to Your Life, and I forgot who wrote it. I guess I'll put it on my Twitter. I go to @Fibonacci, and he talks about the importance of integrating or letting each season have its full place in our lives. And sometimes in any sort of culture, whether it's a religious culture, an economic culture, we have to remember the word culture comes from the word cult. And one of the things that happens, where does culture become cultish? And that is, it's really just usually a group of people who insist on only having one season. Like, there's some people who are like, we only want the diamond season. Here, this 3.03 carat diamond, $90,000. Oh, by the way, they're going to, if you do a direct wire, I think it's only 29,000 per carat. And then I'm not much of a diamond guy. But anyway, here you go. There's some people that love this. But I'm here to say, you got to have this. And you have to be willing to have this. And sometimes you even have to be willing to pray prayers like this, where David's like, break their teeth. So let me ask you a question. Where do you stand in your ability to have summers and springs and winters and falls, and what do they look like? I think it was in the book of Proverbs. King Solomon says, there's a time for everything. There's a season for coming together. There's a season for yielding. There's a season to die. There's a time for everything. And part of wisdom is learning how to cooperate with those seasons. All right, I'm done. You guys be good. There's your thought of the day. Maybe you're going through some coal shit, some pressure. You're surrounded by a bunch of Easter eggs and people wearing pastels, and they're trying to go, what's going on? And you're like, hey, listen, this is where I'm praying to deliver them from death and keep them alive in famine. Here's our help. I mean, these, again, learning how to have the balance. And it's hard for me too. And that's why when I'm taking these walks and I see a lump of coal and I'm attuned to the Spirit, I can really just go, there's something speaking to me about this. There's something, even in my own unique love of nature and this, and my love of Durango, for me, I need sort of the old time. I think when we get away from the old time and we become too sophisticated and we forget about the cauldron of coal. Say that 3 times. Cauldron of coal. You guys have a good day. Close out with some Kari. She's always good. Email me your thoughts, your questions. Heal our land. And part of healing our land is learning about the seasons. Oh yeah, I was going to leave you with that book here. Let Your Life Speak. Who wrote that? Great book. And I just encourage you that if you're going through, his name is Parker Palmer, if you're going through the season of the cauldron, pick up good books. The wisdom of, it doesn't have to be the Bible for me. I'm a Jesuit, so I like reading the ancient texts, but this is a really good book, Let Your Life Speak. Listening to the voice of vocation. It's really good for men. Oh, by the way, men, a little hashtag MRA moment. There has to be a place, men, where you detach from the culture that you're at and get around other men and learn from their journeys of the coal days. And there's nothing better. There was nothing better for me personally in my life other than just getting into the Psalms and learning how to pray honest prayers like that. I mean, maybe that's all you get out of this. Psalms 35. Learning how to pray, contend, O Lord, with those who contend with me. Fight against those who fight against me. And for some people watch this video, they've never ever thought of taking the book of Psalms and praying those songs to God. They didn't think that God was a God of war. They didn't think God was a God of coal. They didn't think God was a God of things other than Easter eggs and pastel shirts. But I found this scripture, Exodus 14. It's really had an impact on me. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. You guys be good. There are Cole scriptures. They're pretty. You guys be good. Email your thoughts, questions. Drop me some PayPal if you like this content. Remember, half the Bible, what, 3/4 of the Bible? It's just about war and warfare and learning spiritual warfare. And do we even have a place for warfare? Or is our lives and is our culture about nothing more than Easter eggs, Easter bunnies, invading other countries, and LOLs? And I love LOLs. But I also know that comedy comes out of pain and learning that there's two forces in our lives that are going to shape us: love and pain. Love and pain. And part of, at least according to the Bible, a lot of freedom comes out of moving into pain and into the cauldron, if you will. And for different people, it's different. It's different. For some people, it's going back to school. For some people, it's ending a relationship. For some people, it's starting a relationship. Again, there's no formula to the cauldron. But I will say this: comfort and our need for Easter bunnies and pastel shirts, and to insulate ourselves from the coal, the dirt, the rigors of the masculine journey. When we move out of the coal phase, and when we insist only on diamonds and we forget where diamonds come from, that's where I think we move into something called the cult. And one thing that I'm seeing that concerns me, and I guess this is what happens to all 41-year-old men, is we just become opinionists. Maybe that's what a comic really is. It's just a professional opinionist. But this is beautiful. But learning how to heal our land sometimes isn't pretty. Sometimes there's dissonance. Sometimes it's getting into the Word and learning how to pray warfare. Getting away from those people who are posing as believers. You guys be good.